entrepreneurship and job training. Again, I like to say this, it's no burden to the taxpayer. We're just going after the resources that are available. So we hope to have a full Veterans Day or Veterans Month awareness in November, which is typically when most agencies recognize the veterans because it's Veterans Day. I want to talk about the members of Congress's offices that we visited with. We were able to visit with with Congressman Henry Cuellar, with Congressman Tony Gonzalez, and in the offices of Joaquin Castro, Chip Roy, and Monica de la Cruz. They're very receptive to our legislative priorities. We also met with the offices of Ted Cruz, the senator, and Senator John Cornyn. Our commitment that we received from Congressman Tony Gonzalez was that we're going to have stronger communication. If we receive any resistance from a federal agency, they will help us break down the barriers and break down the walls to get access. They will also provide letters of support for any federal assistance that we're seeking in terms of either a collaborative partnership, a program assistance, or funding. So I was really pleased to announce that we actually met with the entire South Texas delegation, which it's a scheduling challenge, but we were able to do so. And I'm also pleased that we actually got to sit down with our former congressman, Henry Cuellar, who is a very important member of Congress. Even though he's not our congressman, he is the ranking member of Congressman that sits on the House Appropriations Committee for the entire country. And so that was a big deal to have him sit down with us and then also loan his support to us. We have some other things that we want to pursue on a regional approach, which includes having the city of Pearsall become a member of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. And I want you to think about this on an economic development standpoint. If we become a member of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce for $500 a year, which is the membership fee, that means that the mayor, city manager, and city council members will get invited to events that the city of San Antonio has in terms of the Chamber of Commerce. Well, when the chamber has events, they have business owners that are looking for communities to invest in. So I ask everybody here, does it make sense for us to try to engage a business owner from San Antonio to invest into this city? I think the answer is obvious. We want to create jobs that pay well, and we want to start new businesses. So it's, I think, a wise investment. All the cities that I represent have become members of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. It's a minimal investment that yields a lot of results. The other thing that we want to do, and I'm glad there was a representative here from Workforce Solutions, because we'd like to get a member of the city council to become a member of the board for Workforce Solutions Alamo. So that's on the task list that I've got, and I'll be coordinating those efforts with the city manager and the mayor. We'd also like to become active with the regional, the Regional Planning Authority, which is a transportation group that rates transportation projects within the region. It's important for us to have a seat around that table, and every county is afforded 2 members of their respective communities to serve on that committee. That includes the county judge and also a member of the city council. Usually the mayor becomes a member of that RPO. So the goal is to capitalize on that opportunity to become an active participant, so that when we apply for transportation infrastructure funding projects, we've got a seat around the table. So the follow-up that we've got is we will have an EPA visitor from Washington, D.C. and the state of Texas tour the area within the next 6 to 8 weeks. We did submit the DOJ COPS grant. We are going to pursue a partnership with the Department of Defense and their military transportation or military transition assistance program. So in the San Antonio metro area, there's multiple military bases. And within each base, they have a transition program where they get active duty personnel 12 months before they are going to retire from the military, and they get them transitioned to the civilian world. They do that multiple different ways. One is to expose military personnel to areas around the San Antonio area where that military personnel and their family can relocate to and move. The other thing is that there's a skill bridge program where we can get a 6-month paid fellow to work for the city on the Department of Defense's dime, so that military personnel can learn about city government and the various city departments, and perhaps we can get some former military personnel to work for the city. And I'll give you an example. The TCLOS, which is the agency that oversees law enforcement for the state of Texas, they have a 30-day program where if there's a military police officer that wants to become a Texas peace officer, instead of going to the full academy, they can apply through the TCLO program and go through a 30-day course and then transition into civilian peace officer, a local police department. We learned about that program while we were there. I think it's a great opportunity for the chief and the department. So that's just one example of how we can build a connection between active military personnel and the city of Pearsall. That's through the DoD Skill Bridge program. We were going to pursue a DOT rural planning grant. We want to engage an organization called Ports to Plains, which is a transportation group, and we'd like for the city to become a part of that. It's a nominal fee. Again, I believe the fee for that is $1,000 a year, but it supports a bunch of transportation and infrastructure projects that we're going to be pursuing anyway. We're going to start the USDA Housing Assistance Awareness Campaign in the next 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to become active in the RPO. We're going to form a partnership with the SBA and the SBDC, and we want to start working again on a future DC trip. I think it's important, and I will. James Leal and Sonia heard it directly from the congressman. The congressman said that those cities that come to DC the most usually get the most attention. I think the term that was used is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So again, I want to thank the members of the delegation that participated in the event. They represent the city with absolute professionalism. In fact, I remember that when I sent them off, when we all flew out together, my team and I were talking, and we said, we had cities that came in every week for 5 weeks. And I want to say that Pearsall showed up with a serious game plan. Every one of the people that showed up as part of the delegation, they were great participants. They asked tough questions. They were engaged. They were very professional. So I'm very proud to have worked with the delegation of the city of Pearsall. Again, I want to thank our city attorney also for supporting the event. He was there too, so thank you. Questions? Comments?
Well, the term that he used was those that show us, those that visit us, those that show us, and those that invite us are the ones that get it. So we need to invite him in.
And that's in the works. We've already spoken to his office, and we're going to be doing it. I do want to also compliment them for putting up with the walking, because we walked a lot. Isn't that right, James?
Yeah. So I ended up going to the doctor when I got back.
So, Mr. Gonzalez, I just have one question. Can you update us as far as what we have submitted?
Yes.
And what are we looking at in short term of funding and grants that are coming into the city?
Okay, so we did submit a COPS hiring grant, and I believe that was a $250,000 grant. The deadlines for the other grants are coming up this summer and in the fall. But what we have done also is we've already reached out to the USDA, and they've agreed to an education awareness campaign for the housing assistance program. We've reached out again and followed up with the EPA so that we can pursue the brownfields application for the targeted assessment project. And then we've already reached out to the Department of Transportation for the rural transportation planning grant, and the Veterans Administration to conduct the awareness campaign in November. So there's some things that we applied that were tied directly to money, but then there's other programs and services that the constituents will benefit from as well.
I'll add a little to that. Again, we're talking about federal grants right now. I want to make sure not discount. There are some state grants that we're looking at, the Texas Parks and Wildlife, that he's aware of, and we've shared with EMC. So we'll be pursuing some parks grants. Reminds me of a couple of things, but anyway, parks grants. One of the things that I learned actually is again, the housing. We recognize that housing is an issue. That is bar none. It's I believe at least that the city can do more as it relates to land, cleaning land, making it available for housing projects. I know that's gonna take some more time and effort, but I believe that's in my opinion, that's the correct path to try to promote housing and get land where it's available and people, we can build homes, whether it's a developer, we work it through, this program, we're talking the Brownsfield projects. I'm excited about that because, as you guys know, the city owns land, we own about a 70-acre tract. It's off of Power Plant Road, that's one of the projects we're talking about, that requires cleanup, it's expensive. I think if we're successful there, that could be a really good project to help facilitate some future housing.
And that's what I want to emphasize on is we wanna make sure we're going after a funding that is gonna be beneficial immediately to the city. We can focus on the bigger things as we move forward, but I think it's important that we tackle what we're dealing with now, which is within housing, all those job creation, the economic development of it that covers it. So that's where we want to.
We're trying to leave no stone unturned. In fact, I want to thank the mayor for giving me a lead on the Briscoe Foundation. So the late governor's family has a foundation. They target a lot of their funding towards youth programs. So I spoke to a representative from the Briscoe Foundation last week and on my way up here, and we're going to submit a proposal for playground equipment for the city parks. And so apparently the representative that I spoke to from the foundation spoke to one of the heirs, Miss Briscoe, who has a genuine interest in supporting this project. I was really pleased to know that, and they're sending me the application and we're going to send out a proposal. So whether it's state, private foundation, or federal, we're going to see it.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Citizens too, just know that this is a great opportunity for us, and it did cost, and so I completely support what they're doing in their efforts to sometimes you have to spend money to make money. We really believe that this is going to return big dividends, so we're grateful for that. Moving on, I indicated that we're going to address. Yes.
May I request that we move 6C?
Yeah, I tell you what, I think we've got a couple of folks, let us get through the presentations just real quick, and then when we get into new business, we'll bring some of the folks to the front, okay?
Yeah.
You're all right with that? Okay, item 6C, we're gonna discuss our permitting process and some issues regarding some mobile homes and address some of the things that you guys have talked about. Now, part of this is we are going to hold a workshop. We've already talked to the council and bringing to light some of these things. The problem that is being experienced here is a permit must be achieved first. And without that permit, he said, she said, it's very difficult on the staff. Those permits are approved by staff, people that have the authority to do that. City council, myself, we can't approve, we can't say this or the other. We have some folks that are coming in doing some developments, and they have engineers, they present us with a plan, it's gonna be X, Y, and Z. We review it, we go over it. You need to understand it is a process. It is a process that goes through. We want development, we want homes, we want to do that, but it has to be done correctly. Everything that's done incorrectly has a consequence typically to us and to the homeowner eventually. So what I'm gonna propose is that I've got the city attorney to look at our current ordinances, which it is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna say, but it's required that you get a permit before you start working. I mean, that's required. But if a builder, if a realtor, if a mobile home mover, if a modular home mover assists you in doing that without a permit in hand, I'm going to recommend that we create an ordinance that fines that individual as well as the homeowner. It has to stop. Issues like this, it just keeps going because there's never a plan signed and approved, and it is our desire. Now, I will state, we can always do a better job. We can do a better job of what we're doing. We have had an individual that was our permit department, and unfortunately, we lost that person, but we're going to specify that task to an individual, and it's gonna go through there. And so, with this workshop, if you've got questions, if you've got issues, we want the public's input, but that's part of the problem. things go like this, we don't want you to spend money until you have the approval first, and that way you know, hey, I can't do that. I can't put that mobile home there, I can't have a small line, so, and this is not the time to, debate that at this particular point. We'll have a workshop where you're free to come and say whatever you care to say, but that is certainly my desire, so that we stop this process that is so heavy on the individuals, the customers, our citizens, and hard on the staff. We're gonna clear that up. We have, in most cities, from a long time ago, the issues with mobile homes have always been a hot topic. For years and years and years, the city of Pearsall, mobile homes were just, I get it, they're a source of living that's acceptable, that works well, but they were in specifically areas zoned for mobile homes. We've allowed mobile homes to start to go everywhere. I'm gonna also recommend that we go back to those old policies. Now, we've allowed that in the past, but what's critical and subject again to city council, that we draw a line in the sand and say regardless of what has happened in the past, we can't keep allowing this to happen. We've got some statistics that just show the impact of mobile homes on the community at large. And so that's why most communities typically have mobile home parks. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's the areas where they're supposed to be. So citizens know that's coming. We've tasked some of the council members with establishing this workshop. We're gonna do it soon, so we want your input. You're free to come and say what's on your mind about that. But that, as I see, one of the problems of the city is that's one of the things that's happening out there is too many people, and I'm not saying that anybody's doing that on purpose, but the owner a lot of times maybe does this once or twice in their life, and they don't know the process involved and the do's and the don'ts and why we do what we do. The builder, the developer, the person that moves in mobile homes, they should know. They should know that we can't, you can't move that in without a permit. And it's not okay. So anyway, that's coming. Stay tuned. We'll announce it. Please come, so we can hear your input, but it's all in a desire to make it better, to make it where you don't spend a bunch of money and go, we can't move forward, so we don't want that. Anyway, it's coming soon. All right, moving on to item 6. Council, any comments?
You said 60?
Yeah, that was 6C, 6D.
And I'm not through with that, 6C item.
Okay, all right.
I'll let you, but it's probably wise to allow the folks that are here, or we can come back if that's okay for item 6C. Because there is some data and information that the council and the community should be aware of regarding mobile homes and manufactured homes. There is a difference, the distinction, how we approve and treat these things. And what I mean by that is, whenever we're talking about mobile homes have a clear definition. They're basically anything that was, a mobile home was built before 1976. Those are considered mobile homes. Anything built after 1976 that's not your traditional stick-built residential home is considered a manufactured home. So there's this difference as to how they're built, they're constructed. There's also modular homes and there's stick-built homes. There's 4 major differences. What we've run into here lately, probably the past year and a half, is storages that get converted into people's homes, and they want to come in and build. They want to use the storage to live in. That's basically what it boils down to. What we get, and the information, the reason the staff asks for information is because sometimes we don't know what these things are. People say, well, they're this or that. Well, what exactly are they? Are they a mobile home, manufactured home? Are they storage? Are they? And the reason we ask those questions is because we need to know how they apply as far as our rules, regulations, where they're going to be, where they're zoned for that. Those are the reasons we ask. And we ask the information even before we even begin the permitting process, simply because we don't know. We're not in front of a structure saying, oh, that looks like we need the information from the people before we can make a decision or give you some understanding of what it is we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And saying that, an example we have here is just that. We have storage buildings that come in that basically say that they're not for habitation. That's what they read on. These are design plans that we're looking at. And so it's hard for us to, as a staff, to say, yeah, let's approve something if the people that are designing and manufacturing are telling you that they're not designed for housing, for habitation. That's one example. The other example is here, and I'll go into this, what the council has to contend with, and part of,
Sorry for interrupting you. Just to make it clear, the manufacturer of the structures are clearly stating they're not for people to live in.
that's correct.
And no, then this is engineered staff, correct?
Yes, yes, sir,
So
that's.
the engineer is specifically saying not for residential, not for living, not for habitating, nothing.
Right, so you have that, the way these things are purchased now, could somebody potentially bid them up to code? Potentially. The thing is, we don't know that they have, that whoever the owners of these